More to the game, back again. Another episode of podcast coming to you today. Today's topic is very interesting because a lot of people don't see it the way I do when it comes down to the money that professional athletes make. A guy making hundreds of millions of dollars, it's not a whole lot of sympathy out there for him. Whether he gets traded around, has to take a pay cut or whatever, no one's really feeling bad for the guy. And a guy that's making a whole lot of money and his team isn't winning, they get called selfish because they won't take a pay cut to make the team better. That is a huge misconception in my eyes because I think the most selfish thing you can do is take a pay cut. You are an athlete making hundreds of millions of dollars, a star player in the NBA, for example, and you've gotten everything you could out of the game. You get to play at the highest level for the most money possible. And you decide that that's not enough. You want to win the championship, so you take less money. On the surface, that sounds very unselfish. Taking less money for the team's benefit. That money that you're leaving on the table could be used to serve your community, support any type of nonprofits and charities. Like, that money could be used elsewhere. Then people are going to say, oh, the other players on his team, they want to make some money too. That's more money for the players on their team. True, but that's just because there's a salary cap in place. In a sport like baseball, there's no salary cap. So really, it's the owners who are being selfish by putting a limit on how much money the players can make. Because it's a revenue split. They know how much money they're going to make. They set aside a percentage for the salary cap, and that's how they split the revenue between owners and players. It's not that the star player is making so much money that no one else can get paid. It's the money that is allowed based on the revenue split between the players and the owners. So back when the big three in Miami came together, LeBron, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh got together, they all took pay cuts to get there, apparently. They could have made more money on the team they was already on or elsewhere or whatever. Like, they took less money. That less money did go around the team to where people on the team could make more money. However, the owner still made the same amount of money no matter what. No one ever calls the owner selfish for not trying to increase the salary cap or whatever. It's always on the players. So in the spirit of NBA free agency and bag chasing, I'm going to highlight my top 5 NBA bag chasers. First off, I want to give an honorable mention to Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony, to this point in his career, does not have any championships. He has very rarely been on a team that can contend for a championship. And back when the Miami Big Three were created, it was originally supposed to be Carmelo Anthony instead of Chris Bosh. But Carmelo Anthony decided to get an extra year on his contract, chase the bag with Denver, and not be allowed to be a free agent at the same time as LeBron and D-Wade, where they could have teamed up together wherever. He went for the bag, and you are an honorable mention for all-time NBA bag chasers. Number 5 on my list is Klay Thompson. I know that's going to rub you the wrong way because Klay Thompson's never been seen for a selfish guy or a money-chasing guy. But the story itself is a bag-chasing story. Back when Klay Thompson got hurt in the 2019 NBA Finals, he was about to be a free agent, along with Kevin Durant, and the Warriors had a decision to make. Klay Thompson's been a great player, one of the all-time greats for that franchise. Future Hall of Famer, all that, Klay Thompson is Klay Thompson. His dad was speaking about some things on his free agency, the pending free agency, And basically what the reports were saying is that Golden State better have a max contract offer on the table. Like, as soon as free agency opens, it better be a max or Klay Thompson is willing to leave. The Lakers would have been a big threat to get him back when LeBron had just arrived there and he was looking to build a team. AD hadn't arrived yet. So, yeah, they were not playing around with the Warriors. If they didn't have that max contract offer on the table, he was threatening, or at least his father said it was a chance that he could leave. Obviously, Klay Thompson didn't leave. He got the bag. Didn't even play for the first 2 years of that contract. That contract ended up being 5 years, $190 million. That's about $38 million per year. So that first 2 years, $76 million. He was getting paid, and he was just, rehabbing those nasty injuries he had with his ACL and Achilles. So he went and got that max contract after the ACL, collected checks for 2 years with the ACL and Achilles rehab, and he got to that bag. Number 4 on my list for all-time NBA bag chasers is John Wall. John Wall was definitely an elite point guard in his prime. Number 1 overall draft pick coming out of college, out of Kentucky. Everybody used to do the John Wall dances and all that stuff, Everybody was on the John Wall. When it came time to negotiate for John Wall's contract after his rookie extension contract, he had injury problems already. The team was looking decent. The Wizards had never been a team to really, truly compete for an NBA championship. But John Wall was definitely that franchise player, cornerstone. A lot of people could look at the time and say there's no way they were going to win the championship with the way the team's going to be constructed and having to pay him all that money. But they paid it to him. John Wall ended up tearing his Achilles at his home. He slipped and fell, apparently. A lot of rumors out there that he got hurt in the club or doing something like, I don't know. I think he was already injured at the time anyway, and he ended up tearing his Achilles, a more serious injury. And, yeah, so John Wall was similar to Klay Thompson. He was collecting checks without playing. I'm looking at the numbers right now. 1920 season, he got paid $38 million, $38.2 million. No games played. 2021, $41.2 million with 40 games played. And then $44 million this past season with no games played. And $47.3 million was slated for this upcoming season. But he signed with the Los Angeles Clippers after he reached a buyout agreement with the Houston Rockets, who he got traded from the Wizards to. And in that buyout, he negotiated where he would give back, I think, around $6 million or so, even though he was going to get that right back when he signed the Clippers. He was always going to get that money. He got his full $47.3 million for that season, basically after he signed this 1 year or 2 year deal with the Clippers. So, yeah, John Wall is about the bag. He chased the bag, and he secured the bag. Number 3 on my list for all-time NBA bag chasers is Russell Westbrook. I know I've been a big critic of Russell Westbrook, especially since he went to the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not the biggest fan of his game, but that's neither here nor there. Russell Westbrook is a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, and he's made a lot of money in the NBA. His last contract he signed, man, it left the Lakers in a bind because they ended up trading for him. He got $47 million due to him this season. Now, I don't think anyone's arguing it's the worst contract in the NBA right now. It's untradeable. Nobody wants it without you also giving them something to take that contract back, which is making the Kyrie Irving trade a little bit harder to do because Russell Westbrook basically has negative value. But it's not about his play. It's about the money that he's earned. And, yeah, he's signed for 5 years, $205 million with the Thunder. He deserved it. You know, he's their best player at the time. And, you know, it's Russell Westbrook, Hall of Famer. That's about, $41 million per year. He's made $288 million in his career. He had no intentions of opting out of that final year of his contract this year. He is definitely in for the bag. And I respect it. Russell Westbrook has a lot of charitable endeavors. He has his foundations. He has his fashion that he's into. Like, he gives back plenty of money, and he is doing the unselfish thing by not leaving a cent on the table that can go to his future generations and all the philanthropic endeavors he has. Chase the bag, Russell Westbrook. Number 2 on my list is none other than Damian Never Run From the Grind Lillard. Dame Time is definitely one of my favorite players in the NBA. Great player. I like his persona even more. He's always a stand-up guy. He wants to win a championship in Portland, so he says. To me, I think the hard decision would be to actually leave Portland and go somewhere with expectations of winning a championship and having to come through on that. But that's neither here nor there. Damian Lillard is getting paid. He just signed a 2-year extension for $122 million. That's $61 million per year on average. 61. He's made $191 million in his career so far. And from now until the end of the extension, he'll make a whopping $450 million and will never have ran from the grind. Man, get your money, Dame. Get your money. I mean, a lot of these players, I understand it. If you're not going to be one of those guys like LeBron or Steph that's to my legacy, best players of all time, like, get your money, man. Like I said, the more selfish thing is to try to, leave money on the table for your own personal gain and accolades and achievements to get championships. But when you take that money, you can use that money for other things, whatever philanthropic endeavors you have, your future generations, that's actually more unselfish, in my opinion. Dame is about $1. And number 1 on my list for all-time bag chasers is Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal made the list because he is not saying that he's trying to not run from the grind. That's not his brand, even though he says he wants to win a championship in Washington. It's pretty clear that as bad as Washington is and as limited as that future is, He is just trying to make as much money as possible. Bradley Beal is a very good player, all-star caliber player. Won't be known as one of the greatest players of all time, but he's definitely a prolific scorer for his generation. And he understands that legacy may not be the most important thing for him because he won't be one of those guys. When it comes down to that bag, he has not decided to leave a cent on the table. Bradley Beal just signed for 5 years, $251 million. And he's not even looked at as probably a top 15, top 20 player in the NBA at this point in time. Bradley Beal is good, but he is making sure that he is getting paid for his services. And it's funny that it's Washington because they signed the John Wall contract that didn't work out. They had the Gilbert Arenas contract that didn't work out. I don't know if you guys know, but Ian Mahinmi signed for like 4 years, $64 million, and he was a fringe starter, mainly a backup center at best in his career. Also, Davis Bertans signed a terrible contract around the same thing Mahinmi got, or maybe more. Like, they signed some bad contracts, but Bradley Beal doesn't care about that. He's trying to get his. He doesn't mind being the next in line of guys that Washington decided to pay that doesn't end up in a championship. Because any NBA expert or analyst or whatever you want to call them will tell you there's no way that they'll win a championship as currently constructed, and especially not paying Bradley Beal $251 million over the next 5 years. Bradley Beal is going to be making $50.2 million per year and getting that bag. As we wrap up this segment, we got to shout out Chris Paul because Chris Paul made a lot of these things possible. CP3 was the president of the NBA Player Association when the last CBA was negotiated. And he got it in where guys could be like 38 plus years old, whatever, and get those huge contracts. So he did whatever he could to make sure that he and his fellow NBA brothers can continue chasing that bag up until their late 30s. Shout out to Chris Paul for helping these dudes get the bag out here. He has made the third most money all time in the NBA, behind only LeBron James at 1 and Kevin Garnett at 2. And Kevin Garnett at 2 because they didn't have those big scale contracts when he signed his first deal. So he really has made like the second most money of all time behind LeBron James, if you want to factor in that fact with KG. So yeah, shout out Chris Paul for making this possible. Shout out all the bad shits out there chasing that bag, not leaving a cent on the table, setting their family for generational wealth and giving back to charities, man. Get that bag, man. Shout out to y'all.
If you're a trainer looking to take your business to the next level, Jimble's got you covered. Scheduling, streamlined bookings, and payments make it easier than ever for you to focus on the important things. The team at Jimble created a platform that connects its users to athletic facilities, training, and events. So if you're looking for a better way to run your business and engage your community, tap in. You can find us at jimble.us. That's GYMBLE.us, or on Instagram at JimbleApp.